are also known as anti-contraction medications, we can say. And this word tocolysis is derived from the Greek word tokos, that is the childbirth, and lytic is which is capable of dissolving it. So if a woman has preterm labor, premature contractions, then these medications are used to suppress those medications so that we can have time and we can reduce the chances of prematurity. So, what's the aim of tocolysis? This tocolysis, the main, there are two. It is not that we can just give these tocolytic drugs till we want to achieve at 37 weeks, we want to achieve births and we can continue those medications. Their role is not that. Their role is mainly to get time so that we can administer some steroids like betamethasone or dexamethasone. If she is in preterm labor, we get time so that we can give those either 2 doses of betamethasone or 4 doses of injection dexamethasone, and because this will take 48 hours. Okay, so that time we can buy by giving these medications. We want to prevent birth till that time at least, because it will cause acceleration of the fetal lung maturity. So if the preterm baby is born, still he will have a good survival chances if she has covered the dose of steroid cover is complete. So when they should be used? This is considered for women with suspected preterm labor, and they are most likely are those in which we want to cover the steroid, as I have told you. So a full course of corticosteroids can be covered, that will require 48 hours. And another is that if the patient has come to a hospital in which there are no facilities in which the baby's care can be done, that preterm baby can't be managed, so we want to transfer that women to a hospital which will provide the neonatal intensive care services. So that the patient may reach that hospital without baby being delivered at that time, we want to give the tocolysis. So these are the two main indications in which the tocolytics are given, and they are given when the gestation, if the preterm labor starts and the gestation is less than 34 weeks. Okay, if she has come after 34 weeks but before 37, then there is no role of tocolysis, because we want the lung maturity is achieved after 34 weeks. The fetal lung maturity is achieved after 34 weeks. So even if she goes in labor, there will be risk associated with preterm labor, but still there will be very less, and we will not advise her tocolysis. They has to be given if the woman has come before 34 weeks and her steroid cover is still not complete, or we want to transfer her to a suitable place so that when she gives birth to a preterm baby, the baby can be managed. And you must be knowing the dose of the term which is we call as steroid cover for the fetus. So that includes either injection dexamethasone, which is 6 milligram IM, 12 hourly we give 4 doses. Nowadays we prefer dexamethasone, and another is betamethasone, which is 12 milligram IM, 2 doses 24 hours apart. So does this tocolysis really prevent preterm birth? It has been seen that this use of this drug is associated with the prolongation of pregnancy for up to 7 days. But significant effect on preterm birth or in perinatal morbidity or neonatal morbidity has not been seen. So it is not that it will absolutely, if we are using these medications, the preterm birth will stop. It's not mandatory, but yes, it will help in prolongation of pregnancy up to 7 days. So there is no studies in which it is associated with a clear, it will clearly, it will not reduce all the morbidities and mortalities, but it will help us to buy time. So once this the effect of tocolysis has been taken place and the steroid cover is complete, will we continue the maintenance dose of tocolytic therapy till 37 weeks? No. The maintenance is not recommended because these drugs are also associated with the side effects. So we will use them for a short time in which we require it, as I have told you those two indications mainly. Now coming on to the tocolytic agents, what are the different tocolytic agents? These are the drugs: calcium channel blockers, magnesium sulfate, indomethacin, atosiban, beta mimetics, and nitric oxide donors. Okay. The most important among them and the most commonly used, and when you have that posting of gynae, you can see the calcium channel blockers like nifedipine, which we most commonly use. It is quite commonly used. You can see that. Then another is magnesium sulfate is also used. Then others are usually not used. Atosiban is one drug which is very costly, and nowadays it is being used in other settings as it is quite safe and effective drug. But in our setting, as it is a very costly drug, this whole dosage of that, it costs around 30 to 40,000. So in our government settings, it is still not available, but yes, it is available and it is very safe drug. So the most commonly used drug here is calcium channel blocker, that is the nifedipine. So first coming on to the calcium channel blocker. So it is the first line agent. How does it act? It will block the calcium channels inside the cell, and thus because these calcium channels, they have a role in the onset of uterine contractions. So when it blocks the entry of the calcium inside the cell, it will cause inhibition of the uterine contractions. Now what is the dose? It is either 20 to 30 milligrams stat dose, and then we give it 10 to 20 mg every 4 hourly. Okay, till at least for 48 hours, like we want to cover the steroid, and then we go on tapering it. It is not suddenly stopped. We will, once the contractions subside or we have achieved our aim, then we will taper it. We will do it now 3 times a day, then we will do it on the next 24 or twice a day, and then we will stop it. So, what are the side effects of nifedipine? These are very commonly observed. Whenever you see a patient who is taking nifedipine, you will see that there will be tachycardia and there will be hypotension, because it is also one of the antihypertensives, as you know. So it causes maternal hypotension. So before administrating nifedipine to any patient, first of all you have to see the vitals of the patient. If she is already hypotensive, you can't administer it, otherwise she will have more hypotension. Then another very important side effects and commonly observed is headache. There is a throbbing headache and there is flushing. So these are the common side effects. Then whenever, if you are giving tocolysis of the patient, you should avoid combining this with other things like magnesium sulfate or beta mimetics. It should not be combined with that. Why? Because magnesium also has a neuromuscular blockade effect, so it will enhance those effects. So the combined effect will be much larger. So it will start acting apart from the uterine muscles, it will start acting on the other organs, and it can interfere with the pulmonary and cardiac functions. So it should not be combined with magnesium sulfate. We can't give 3 drugs at a time, these 3, which all will lead to the ultimately to the neuromuscular blockade. Then another drug, that is the magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate, this drug is mainly, you should have seen that this drug is mainly used in the treatment of eclampsia. It is the drug of choice for eclampsia, but it has one other role also, that is it can be used as a tocolytic drug. How does it act in that? It acts by competitive inhibition of the calcium ions, either at the motor end plate at the cell membrane. So it will again reduce the calcium influx and also the acetylcholine release and at the motor end plate. So all of these actions will ultimately lead to the stoppage of the uterine contractions. Okay, and it is quite a safe drug for this use also, and the dose is also similar. Like in eclampsia, the dose is 4 gram IV, 20% solution. It is similarly here the loading dose is 4 to 6 gram IV, 10 to 20% solution, and it is given over 20 to 30 minutes, and then it is followed by an infusion of 1 to 2 gram per hour. Similarly, in eclampsia, we give 1 gram per hour infusion, and this will continue for 12 hours after the contractions have stopped. Okay. Usually, more than 24 hours, we avoid giving magnesium sulfate because the this magnesium sulfate, when it is given, its toxicity levels needs to be monitored. So, but it is not a very effective tocolytic. In the eclampsia, it is the best drug of choice, but as a tocolysis, it has a poor effect. So mostly for short-term use, maximum up to 48 hours you can use. Now, what are the side effects? The maternal side effects, the mother will experience flushing, headache, muscle weakness, and rarely it can lead to pulmonary edema. And the neonate also has certain side effects with that. That is, the baby may be born lethargic, hypotonic, and rarely respiratory depressions, but they are less common. So, in this magnesium sulfate is contraindicated in patients with myasthenia gravis because already there is a impaired neuromuscular blockade in those, and this will enhance that. Then another important contraindications is if she has a impaired renal functions because magnesium sulfate has a renal excretion. So if renal functions are impaired, it will reach the toxic levels in the blood, and that can have serious side effects like it can cause respiratory depression. Then another advantage of using magnesium sulfate as a tocolysis is that now the studies have proved that it acts as a fetal neuroprotective agent. If a woman comes in preterm labor between 24 to 32 weeks, and if we see that she is about to deliver, then we can start. Nowadays, we are also using magnesium sulfate as a neuroprotective agent. Okay? That it will, when the baby will be born, it will have certain neuroprotection element, and that will reduce the chances of cerebral palsy in the baby. So, but that neuroprotective role is only till 32 weeks. If it is she is more than 32 weeks, then we will not use it as a neuroprotective agent. Then the third drug, which is less commonly used, that is indomethacin. Okay, as you all know, indomethacin, it is a cyclooxygenase inhibitor. So it will reduce the synthesis of the prostaglandins. And prostaglandins, they have a direct role in causing uterine contractions. We are using it for induction also. So that's why this is the role of indomethacin. It will stop the synthesis of prostaglandins. So what is the dose of indomethacin? It is per oral loading dose is 50 mg, and then it is followed by 25 milligram every 6 hourly, again for 48 hours. Okay, so that can be used. And what will be the side effects of indomethacin? There, every cyclooxygenase inhibitors have those like gastritis, then asthma, thrombocytopenia. So it is contraindicated in those with hepatic disease, active peptic ulcers disease, and coagulation disorders. It has also, this indomethacin has serious fetal and neonatal side effects that if it is given more than at around 36 weeks of gestation, then it can cause premature ductus arteriosus closure in the newborn baby, and it can also cause oligohydramnios. In neonatal pulmonary hypertension it can cause. Okay, so these are serious fetal effects. So like if it is causing oligo, because there is one another role of indomethacin, one condition in it is used is in cases of unexplained polyhydramnios to reduce the secretion of the liquor, to reduce the amount of liquor. So it has a role in case of the polyhydramnios also. But here in this case we are using it for the as a tocolytic agent, so it has some side effects for the mother and baby also. Then another drugs are beta mimetics that include terbutaline, ritodrine, and isoxapurin. Okay, so these are also again they are given for 48 hours so that we can have time for steroids to work. But these are also less commonly used. So they will act upon the beta adrenergic receptors, and they will cause activation of the intracellular enzymes like adenylate cyclase, and it will cause inhibition of the this cytokinase enzyme of the myosin and the actin, which will cause the smooth muscle relaxation. So in this way, that act in case of the preterm labor. What are the dose of the these agents? Like ritodrine, it is given as a IV infusion. Okay, it is very less commonly used, not usually used for this condition, but you should know that it is given as a IV infusion. And then terbutaline doses, it is given in the form of subcutaneous injection of 0.25 milligram. Okay, so every 3 to 4 hourly this is given. Then what are the side effects? Like maternal side effects are headache, palpitation, okay, tachycardia, pulmonary edema, hypotension, cardiac failure, ARDS, and lactic acidemia and even death. So there are a lot of side effects associated with beta mimetic drugs. So you have to use them very judiciously, because instead of achieving benefit, we can have serious side effects to the mother. So terbutaline, as I have told you, it is given either it can also be given as IV injection, or mostly it is administered subcutaneously 0.25 microgram every 4 hourly for at least 12 hours. Then the new drug, that is atosiban. This you should know. Atosiban, you should remember it as it is an oxytocin antagonist. So oxytocin, which is a oxytocic agent, it will stimulate the uterine contraction. This is an oxytocin antagonist, so it will stop that. So this is atosiban. So it is how does it act? It is a nonapeptide, it is a oxytocin analog only. So it is a competitive antagonist of oxytocin induced contractions. So it will act as a competitive antagonist, it will inhibit the action of the oxytocin, and thus it will act as a tocolytic agent. Now what is the dose? How it is given? It is given in the form of, first there is IV bolus injection, which is 6.75 mg over 1 minute. And then continuous IV infusion. First 3 hours it is 300 microgram per minute, and then for the next 45 hours it is 100 microgram per minute. So for total dose is for 48 hours. Okay, one is the loading dose and then is the maintenance dose. So maximum dose which we can use is 330 milligram. It is nowadays it is the drug of choice, because the side effects of this drug is very less. Other tocolytic agents, as I have told you, they are associated with a lot of side effects. Here the side effects are much less. The only side effects which are seen commonly are nausea, vomiting, and rarely it is chest pain. In case of the fetus, it may cause tachycardia, heart failure, but they are very rare. So atosiban, you should remember, it is an oxytocin antagonist. The dose is in the form of loading followed by IV infusion. Side effects are very less, but it is a very costly drug, so not widely available. Then another tocolytic agent is NO donors, that is nitric oxide donors. These, how does they act? They act as a smooth muscle relaxant. Okay? These nitric oxide, or GTN, also known as glycerin trinitrates, they are used as a patches. So we just apply patch on the patient and they will act as a relaxant. Side effects again is mostly headache. So these are the commonly used tocolytic agent in obstetrics. So if we summarize, you should know what do you mean by the tocolysis. Okay, so that you all know, that is stoppage of the uterine contractions. How do you do that? By using these tocolytic agents. Then when do you require to use tocolysis? If the patient has a preterm labor before 34 weeks of gestation and we want to buy time to cover the full dose of the corticosteroids to achieve fetal lung maturity, or secondly, to achieve transfer of the patient to a better facility where the neonatal care can be done. In those two situations, we want to use tocolysis. Okay, before 34 weeks of gestation, if when present in the preterm labor. Then you should know the different tocolytic agents, like most commonly this nifedipine or the calcium channel blocker, then magnesium sulfate, indomethacin, beta-mimetics, anodonors, and atosiban. Out of these two, you should at least you should know by heart about the calcium channel blockers. What are they? How do they act? What is the dose? And what are their side effects? So one of the calcium channel blockers you should know. Then also about the magnesium sulfate, and very important thing about magnesium sulfate you should know is that it also acts as a neuroprotective agent in if the pregnancy is less than 32 weeks. And thirdly, you should know about the new drug, the latest drug, that is atosiban, which is a oxytocin antagonist. Others like indomethacin, beta-mimetics, and anodonors, they are very less commonly used, but you just remember their names and some side effects. But these three calcium channel blockers, magnesium sulfate, and beta-mimetics, they are very important. Okay. So don't use these tocolytic agents unnecessarily because they are associated with a lot of side effects. Sometimes they can cause serious side effects in the mother and to the baby. They have to be used judiciously and and to the shortest possible time. For the shortest possible time, that is maximum, we use it up to 48 hours because then our purpose is solved. She must have her steroid cover must have been completed by then. So shortest possible duration they should be used, has to be used judiciously, and you should always monitor her for the side effects and to have a strict watch for them so that we can stop them timely. And then there is a no role of maintenance of these tocolytics, that we can't use them every day so that we can reach up to 37 weeks and then we want to deliver. They have to be used for the shortest possible time so that our purpose is solved. Okay, so this was all about the tocolytics.